Well, good morning. Oh, I keep forgetting. I'm not in the pre-show on Sunday mornings. Let's go ahead and let's just play the opener because it's fun. Here we go. Seeing some of those pictures flash by, and I saw the picture of me holding the Obama book upside down. I can't wait to see Joe Biden's bestseller after his presidency is over. How about you? You looking forward to that? Think he's already working on it? I know that he believes he's going to get reelected, so he must believe there's something working for him out there. Yes, slavery. So you're talking about slavery. That was a paradigm of the day. Every country, everybody engaged in slavery. And by abolishing it, we stepped out into that new paradigm that only existed in one other country at the time, and that was Great Britain. So the abolishment of slavery. Even the guys who wrote the Constitution and all the founders, they thought, we've just written these magnificent documents, and we say all men are created equal. But how can we justify that with the fact that we own slaves? George Washington was probably the best on that. He wanted to free all the slaves right from the beginning, but would have caused economic chaos. And so he used other means, but in his will told his wife to make sure they were all emancipated, and she eventually did. Thomas Jefferson saw the point. He believed that slavery needed to be abolished, but at the same time, he was a bit of a snob, and he didn't want to be the one to have to do it. And so he was very slow, and he never did emancipate his slaves, but they had a much better situation under him than others. So slavery, it was abolished eventually. That was the beauty of the United States of America, is that we saw the faults and the errors of ourselves and the world around us. We formed a new union. We formed a new kind of a government and a new kind of a way for people to interact with their government. It was a government of the people, and then we had to work our way up to making sure everybody had those same rights under this country, because it was an inconsistency. It was a fault of ours. So there you go. What? Beth Kirkham? No, they were talking about that in the chat room before I came in. So I said, let's say a couple of words about slavery. And I think it's a good starter. It's something to get the blood rolling. Hey, Beth, how you doing? So and it is a starter. It's just some guys were talking about it in here. Actually, two guys, Romeldian and Matthew Sainsbury, were talking about slavery. And Matthew doesn't live here. And I think Romeldian was not born here, if I'm not mistaken. So we were just talking about that. So many tribal elders want to join the new nation of America. Yeah, says Romeldian. Canada, sorry. I'm not sure what that's all about. So I'm sorry it's a non-starter for you. Beth, you can stick around. We're not going to stick on that for the whole time. And what would you like to talk about today? She's doing pretty good. Oh, missed that convict? Not sure where you are then. Okay. Yeah, Beth, what do you want to talk about today? What's on your mind? You should call in. Call in and let's talk. So, yeah, it's a pretty mellow day. Rainy, and all the kids were up quite late last night. The neighbors next door were having a little bonfire. And so she went out there with them at about, I don't think she even got out there till about 9 o'clock last night. And as I was sitting here and Rainey was sitting at her computer, and the kids came and said, "You should come over. Sayla's mom is having a barbecue or a fire." And so they went out, and I went up and I finished cleaning the kitchen, which took me an hour and a half. No, I was still washing dishes at midnight. So I must not have started them until about 10:30, 11 o'clock. Our dishwasher is broken down. We got to get, it's going to be, I'm not going to call it in to my landlord, which is a term I don't like. It's an archaic term. The woman who owns our house that we pay money to live, I'll call it in on Tuesday. I don't want to bother her out with that on a 4th of July holiday weekend. So, hey, Field Guy, and hey, Susie Q, and Grumpy Stack. Yeah, 9 o'clock is 3 hours past my bedtime. Exactly. And so, so I got dishes done last night. The kitchen cleaned up. All the counters scoured. I didn't do the stovetop. But I was doing other things before that. Can't remember what. But finally got to that because I said, I'm sick of looking at this. It was my son Flynn's responsibility. It was a job given him that had dragged on for 3 days out of principle. It's like, I'm not going to go wash the dishes. It's my son's job. And I told Rainey, don't you wash him either. He's got to come out and do his job. And, you can't cut off a limb. You can't, I can yell at him. I got him out there working on it twice. But then I'd come back hours later because I'm working on other stuff. And I come back hours later and he's already abandoned the project. And so I looked in on him at about 9 o'clock, earlier than that last night. And I said, you still got this project to do. I want that done before the end of the night. And when I saw he was still sunk into his game, he was gaming, I thought, well, you know what? Since he's not making it a priority, he doesn't care to. He doesn't take any pride in his home or doing the jobs. And last weekend, he was out staying over at a friend's for a couple of nights. I gave him some money to go do some of the things. They were going to go to the zoo the next day, and can I have a few bucks, Dad? Sure. And I gave it to him. I said, you know what? He said, do you want change from this? I said, you keep that. I said, just remember, I said, I have tasks for you and I need you to uphold your end. And so Romeldian cleans when he wants to. Yeah. You probably don't have parents at home, though, that are making you do your tasks because you're a minor. So, last night, I finally just said, he didn't come out and finish his job. I'm going to do it. And today, there will be a little hell to pay. So, I heard him come out. I was washing some. I was all done. I was done with everything. I was already wiping down the counters and folding up towels. And I wasn't looking, and I heard him come out of his room, and he came down the hall, and I heard him walk into the main room area, and he looked over at me, and he went, oh, like that. And I turned to look at him, and he was already gone. He went back to his room. It was like, yep, my dad did that for me. Dad did it. And it was after midnight. at that point. Rainey was still out with the two girls over at the cookout thing next door, and I was washing dishes. Flynn was playing on his games, and I thought, you know what? I'm not going to ask again. And you can't cut off limbs or digits, but I think that there will be no games today. Maybe even tomorrow. No games, no devices, no phone. And not that he calls anybody, but he plays games all day. It's like, son, I don't care that you want to play games. That's okay with me. If you want to play games, that's cool. But you know what? You are going to get your jobs done. You got projects, you got stuff. We could all play a game together. There are other things than sitting in your room and watching your phone or playing on your laptop. So that is why I use paper plates. I hate cleaning dishes. We got a big stack of those too, field guy. Huge stack of paper plates and plastic forks and spoons. And sometimes if we don't want the mess to build, you know what I've told my kids? I bought those little spray bottles of Dawn dish detergent. And it's where you can take an individual dish and spray it and clean it. I say, here's what you do. When the dishwasher was working, it was like if you have any leavings on your plate or bowl, you scrape it off into the trash can and you rinse your bowl out, you put it in the dishwasher. Or right now that the dishwasher is broken, has been for a few days, you spray it with the soap, you wash it, rinse it, put it in the dry rack, or even, oh my God, bend over and grab the towel and dry it and put it away. There you go, Susie Q. Family movies, but no devices. Our kids have devices. They have them because when they go to school, we like them to have a way to contact us and so on. The little one doesn't have her own yet. So, but those phones become a nuisance. You know, Rowan will be on her phone all day long. And I literally mean, no, that's nothing new, really, in the grand scheme of things. You watch old shows like Father Knows Best or some of those kinds of shows or movies. What was the big thing? The daughter was always sitting on the in the entryway where the phone is on the phone stand and laying on the little sofa or chair there talking on the phone for hours at a time. So that ain't nothing new. Brianna said, yeah, we're cleaning the house this weekend. It's been needing to be done for a while and getting things ready for a garage sale. We've been going through everything we clean. Yeah, Brianna, I get it. Rainey's been wanting to do a garage sale for a few weeks too. And so that's probably coming up in the near future. Time's wasting on that, though. She may or may not get the opportunity before she goes to Alaska with Flynn. They're going in August for the month of August to Alaska. And she goes up and visits her sister and her husband and kids. And they go fishing on the river. That's the 80 pounds of salmon she brought back last year. And this year she wants to take Flynn up with her. And so Flynn's going to go up with her visiting and fishing in the river. And they're going to be gone, I think, 3 weeks, 3 or 3.5 weeks, something like that, in August. And so we're now in July. My mom turns 80 this next weekend. And so she lives down in Yuma, Arizona, but they're flying her up here for a big birthday party here. And so we're going to go to that. And that'll be fun. Kids haven't seen her in a long time. Not since the wedding, Bryn's wedding. And so we're going to see family and celebrate my mom's 80th birthday on Saturday, this next week. Well, I guess that's this week. Romeldian still has his phone since 2013. I still have my phone number since 2008. I think it's the same number I've had through all the stuff I've done, all the Ghost Hunters magazine and Taps Paramag and all that. I've had the same number for years. So, but my phone is starting to get old. It's not the same phone. Raini and I need to get new phones. My daughter wanted to know if we would give her $489 yesterday. Just yesterday. Last night. Can I have $489? What can I do? At least she started it by saying, what can I do to earn $489 from you guys? I said, well, you'd have to work really hard. So what do you need $489 for? Well, the new iPhone 12 mini. I'm like, I don't think so. And I wasn't nasty or mean about it. I said, Mom and Dad need new phones before you kids need new phones. And when we get new phones, you can have our old ones. So anyway, yeah, that was in my pocket. So that's my phone. I've had this phone for I think 5 or 6 years, and Rainy the same. We got them at the same time. So go to the money tree, Beth Kirkham says. Yeah, exactly. We planted a bunch of them out in the backyard. I haven't seen much come up yet. So maybe it's because we planted pennies instead of dollars. So yeah, that's a lot of smackaroos. That's not even the full iPhone. I wanted to get one of the iPhone 12s because I've heard it has a spectacular camera system on it. Best camera you've ever seen in a phone. And all the other things, bells and whistles that are Apple. And I'm an Apple guy. I'm on an Apple computer. So we went and looked at them. Like $1,200. And I'm sorry, I'm not that old-fashioned, but I'm like, I'll spend $1,200 on a phone if I had it. But I'm like, are you kidding me? $1,200 for a cell phone? That thing, better wash my car on weekends and, whatever. So, Brianna says, that's the phone we have. It's the iPhone 12 Pros. Yeah. And of course you can get them on plans too. There are plans where you buy them with your phone plan. And so your phone bill every month is $75 per phone as opposed to $35 per phone because you're paying off a phone. How does it work for you guys, Brianna? So I know you showed us those phones when you got them. You also got the watches with those, right? The iPhone watches. How do those work for you? That just seems just too small to try to function pushing buttons for me. See, John has his on all the time. So, yeah, it better be good, though, for $1,200. I can tell you that. Yeah, Field Guy pays $28 every 3 months on his flip phone. Very nice. Play Star Trek with that. Field Guy to Enterprise. So, yeah, the phone to me would be better than a watch phone. Yeah, I'd rather have the phone than a watch phone for me. Always because I'm banging the shit out of my watches on everything. I used to be a watch. What would you call it? What is it? I had a watch fetish at one point. And we're talking 20 to 30 years ago. I used to love Fossil watches. Remember that brand, Fossil? I think they're still around. And that was back when, we all dressed to the nines all the time. And, you had to get David Klein pants and, something else, shirt and Calvin Klein underwear and, all that stuff you'd buy. And the shoes had to be right. And that was back in the era when I was doing this, when men were always buying the low, like almost loafer type of shoes, because you could then show off your colorful socks that coordinated with everything. So we were always buying the silk shirts and all of that. And the watches had to go right, the right kind of belt. And all of that. And of course, styles change over the years, but, excuse me, I pretty much, I'm either in khakis or blue jeans now, an untucked shirt, and that's it. and or T-shirts, and closets full of them. So I'm not as much the clothes horse as I used to be when I was working for companies. Brianna says we have the Series 6 Apple Watches as well. We go through Verizon, so we have 2 Apple Watches, 2 iPhone Pros, a tablet, and something else, and it's about $345 a month for the full unlimited plans. Holy crapola! See, that's where it gets you. But you are paying for products too. I see that. But a $345 bill per month just for communication devices, to keep them going, to have unlimited. But that's our world nowadays. We've got 5 televisions in the house. So really 3 of them are only, there's 4 of them functioning. We got the living room, the main room of the house, which is connected to the dining and the kitchen area. It's open format. And so we got the big one one of the big ones in the living room. There's a big one in Raini's in my bedroom. I think it's bigger in our bedroom. Giggity. And like a 55-inch, I think we have in the bedroom. And a 50-inch in the living room, something like that. And Flynn's got one in his room. I think it's about a 36-inch or something like that. And then the girls have one in their room, which is, I think, a 42-inch. And I don't think Rowan's got one in her room back here. So, but we've got a couple of TVs not being used either. So, and then we got computer screens, we got devices and all of that. So, the Federation, there's Russ. Hey, Russ, how you doing this morning? I have one of those gigantic Samsung Fold phones, like the big screen when open, but it's a brick all other times. I wish I would have gotten the $22 or the S22. So how is that phone, those folding phones? Do they work very well? That just seemed odd to me to have a folding screen. Not that I don't get the tech. Does it leave a crease in anything or anything like that? Susie Q, meet Russ Haslage. He is the former owner of Odyssey Radio. And so I've known Russ for a few years. And he has the Federation. So, hey, Russ, are you sitting in front of your computer? You want to come on for a minute? We can talk about the Ticonderoga trip, and you can tell them a bit about the Federation. It's Trek Federation. Is it .com or .org? I'd have to double check it. So, Russ, here is the, if you want to come in, if you got time, if you're not doing anything else at the moment, come on in. There is the link to get into the studio. And by the way, as most of you already know, it's very informal on Sunday mornings. I see my beautiful wife just rising out of bed, who is probably in no condition to want to come over and talk on the radio. But, yeah, she walked by. She didn't even say anything. She was up pretty late. I think she went to bed about 1:30, something like that. So she is just rising. Yeah, was I still up when you went to bed? I can't remember. I think you said, I'm going to bed. And I'll see you in a while. So, let's see. My BPM is at 90. My phone just notified me. Very nice. It's nice that it does that. Federation. Text me the number. It's that link right above that, Russ. The StreamYard link. Just click on that link or copy it and paste it into your browser, and you can get here. So, we are planning a trip in September if gas prices hold out. driving from here to New York State is at the present rates of gas would cost us $900 just for gas to and from. But that's also transportation for 5 people. So not including you because you'll be home? Why?
Because you planned it on the week of the crossover, and I want to.
Oh, Jesus. Scouts invade again. So so we're planning this trip, but it's on the weekend that Raini's got to.
I told you when you started planning it, there's crossover, and I want to be there, so we have to do it on that not weekend. But you planned it for that weekend.
I didn't plan it. Russ set it up.
Okay, well,
So that's before I knew you had a scouting event.
Yeah, why? I told you crossover always happens in September. It just can't be the weekend of crossover.
Yep. So I don't know if we can change that or not. No, Rainy, where's the fun in that? There's not. There's always something in the way. So.
Well, you can be pissy about it all you want.
I can see that nothing we plan ever gets in the way of scouting events. Like, oh, scouts, you're going to have to change that because we're going to go do something that weekend.
Okay, well, the venue already booked.
Yeah.
Because we book everything out. And like I said to you before, this is an important day for me. This is the day my We Blow Arrow Lights cross over into the troop. I've been with them for the last 3 years. I want to be the one that hands them their award since I am their
okay leader. I'm just it's not that it's for me whenever I want to do something or whenever we think, hey, we got a weekend to do something, I'll say, oh, there's always a scouting event.
I know, but you plan things off last minute. Calendar's been set up for the last year. Calendar is going to be set
well,
up.
I didn't plan the September 24th trip back a year ago.
July 19th, we're going to set up our calendar for the year. So everything will be planned out up until July of next year.
Yeah, and I get it. It's an obligation.
You always do things last minute like that. You wanted to go camping. It was a couple months ago. I want to plan camping. I'm like, oh, cool. Well, what are we doing this weekend? Well, we got the spring camp out. Let's go. And I don't want to do that with scouts. I don't want to go out there. I don't want to do that. That's a scouting thing. I don't want us to camp there.
Well, no. When I say I want us to go camping, I don't mean let's go camping with the whole scouts troop.
I know, but you had like.
That's not what I mean when I said let's take the family and go camping.
5 days to the weekend, and you're like, let's go camping. Like, cool, because we are going camping.
Yeah, with a bunch of scouts. But
you like to plan last minute. You get the last minute. Let's do this without
sometimes when we were planning September 24th was back 3 months ago. So
yeah, but I told you even then. I got crossover then. I don't know exactly.
You didn't tell me that right away. I found out after the fact. But anyway, so we yeah, Scotty says Matthew Sainsbury. I say we have Raini convert the scouts to the Federation cadets. There you go. Beth Kirkham says, I tried the link just to see if it would work. It did, but there was a delay. I didn't see you pop into the window here, Beth. Try it again. Yeah, it's all fun, Kenny LaFarve. I get that. I only get frustrated because there's always something. There's always a reason for everybody to be gone. And I'm not part of scouts. And I'm not a scout. I could become a den leader, and then it would be my thing, too. But that's not what I want to do. Hey, there's Beth Kirkham. I see you.
Okay. Okay.
Beth?
Okay, it worked.
How you doing?
I'm good. No, I'm good.
Fantastic.
It
So
worked.
what's shaking over there?
I'm just fine. I'm good.
Now you are in. Refresh my memory. I think I know this. You're in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, right?
Yeah, in the Grove Heights.
Okay, that's what I thought. And I knew you were from around here, but I didn't know exactly what part of, if you were in the state or if you were in the city. So Inver Grove Heights, okay. It's a suburb, folks, of kind of a suburb. It's not really a suburb when you think about
Right.
it. It's kind of its
Right.
own town, but
Right.
within
Yeah, it's a
the
suburb.
city
Yeah,
region.
exactly. Yeah, I'm only 15 minutes from St. Paul.
Yeah. We're about a half an hour from St. Paul, only the other way. We go across the river into Somerset, into Wisconsin. So, I don't know. What did now? Did you have kids growing up?
I have a grown daughter.
You have a grown daughter, so you weren't wrangling and juggling 3
No.
kids' schedules at one time. Okay.
Yeah,
All
she
right.
has 4 children. I have 4 grandchildren.
All right. So you get to wrangle them at all?
No.
No, she says, smiling.
They're 22, 18, and 14-year-old twins.
Wow. So they're already in their upper teens. So yeah, that's so they don't live at your house. So that's
Yeah,
you don't
they're
have to
grown.
wrangle around that.
They're grown.
So Rainey's got this thing that she's always wanted with our kids is she wants them to be able to do things and enjoy doing things and have stuff to do, so they're not shiftless and playing video games all day in their room. And I say that sarcastically, but so she's always got them in stuff and school sports that I thought, why'd you sign them up for hockey? We don't have any hockey fans in this family. And because it was something to do with them.
Yeah.
And she wanted them to find what they wanted to do.
Yeah, you find what they want to do and let them flourish. That's what you do.
Yeah, yeah. Just, oh, Matthew Sainsbury, when Ruben Fast Horse is pronouncing Wisconsin, he usually does it in the Lakota. He calls it something like Wisconsin or something like that. And so that's what he does. So who's messaging me now? Oh, Russ. Hold on. I got to see if maybe he's pick a different day for Ticonderoga. I'll see what I can do. Oh, there you go. Cool. So, we may change that that September 24th to a date when Rainey and the kids can come. Because it would be just me and probably Flynn if we have to go on the 24th. So we'll take the stigma out of the 24th of September and we'll find another date.
It'll be fun.
And so that's for everybody, by the way. We're not like sponsoring a trip where you pay us and we do all of this and that. This is just everybody. We're going up to Ticonderoga, New York, and we're going to spend a day at the Star Trek original sets there. And if you're into Star Trek and you grew up on the original, you'll appreciate it even more.
The 24th.
24. Well, we're going to change that date now. We're going to try to move that around a little bit.
Because I retired the 16th.
You what? The 16th?
Okay.
So yeah, we'll find a date. We can't make a date work for everybody, but
right. Yeah. Well, right. Yeah. Yeah. Just I'll keep on it. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's see. Brianna's got to hop off and wake up John. What? You're on John and he's not awake?
Okay.
And get laundry and cleaning and have a good day. Brianna, you too. Good to see you.
There's a real delay in the conversation. I'm just gonna pop out now.
All right, Beth.
Great to talk to you.
Nice to have you call in. That was very cool.
All right.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. All right, that was Beth Kirkham called in. So I'm gonna kick her from the studio. Boom, there. So sounds like a great time, yeah. With the Federation. Yeah, that'll be fun. It's the I know I've talked about it before, I've mentioned it before, but it's the original set tour, and it's of course not the original sets. They're total reconstructions, recreations by a guy named James Crowley, who was a big Star Trek fan. He put his money into, he says, other friends of mine, they buy boats and they buy a cabin up north, they do this, they do motorcycles, whatever. He says, I put my extra money into wanting to create these sets. And he got the old floor plans and the blueprints of the old Desilu Studios where Star Trek was filmed. And he got a warehouse space in Ticonderoga, bought the building, and put up all these sets inside. Buy the blueprint. So if you haven't seen it, you can go to StarTrekTour.com, I think is what it is. I don't think it's tours. I think it's tour. Let me look. StarTrekTour.com. Let's see if that gets us there. Yeah, that's it. So go to StarTrekTour.com. Now, of course, they have guests. They have like William Shatner's going to be there in 2 weeks visiting the sets. He's gone every year for the last 3 years, I think he's gone there and does his appearance and sits on the bridge in the captain's chair and gives talks and tours the sets with everybody. And they're also going to have, it looks like they're going to have Brent Spiner, who played Data, and Gates McFadden, who played Dr. Crusher, and John Delancey, who played Q, are all going to be there in the month of August. So you can go there and you can look at their gallery somewhere on there, About Us, area info. You can just scroll through there and you can find Star Trek Tours, tour, singular, StarTrekTour.com, and you can see what we'd be going to see. Tour, says Field Guy. Hey, Grumpy. Ethan Allen has nice night tables. Oh, I thought you were going to get into history, talking about Ethan Allen and the Green Mountain Boys during the Revolutionary War. So what you doing over there, honey?
Picking at my infected finger. Now I'm just sitting here.
Nice. She's in her big fluffy robe, sitting on the laundry on the sofa over there. I wish I could flip the camera around. You could see her. So I could flip the camera around. There's just too much stuff in the way. So William Shatner lives in Montreal, Canada. I think he was born there. I thought he lived in Los Angeles. So he was in LA for a long time. Maybe he's moved back to Montreal. I don't know. So in recent years. James Crowley from the Star Trek Tours is also going to have the Next Generation sets ready by autumn. Let's find out. Maybe we should, I don't want to drive in snow, but maybe we should find out, Russ, when he plans on having that open, and we can make it another month further down the road. And, September, October. We go in October. October is a notoriously busy month all the time, but maybe that would be a fun thing to do. So, to get us all down there, who's messaging me now? That's just a private message from Brianna. I'll talk to her later. And yeah, I think that'll be a fun trip. You can see how informal this show is on Sundays. I don't even really have a topic. I had a bunch of things I wanted to talk about yesterday. I could have gotten very political, but not political, very current events, very hot about this January 6th committee stuff yesterday and what a bunch of nonsense it is. I'll say this much, if you haven't figured it out yet, the January 6th committees, these hearings they're doing publicly televised during primetime television, wasting our tax dollar. Who's paying for all that? Us, the taxpayers. And so they're dragging this thing out. They're not learning anything new. And when they thought they had something new, this Cassidy Hutchinson, I think was her last name, Trump lunged from the back of the limo and grabbed the steering wheel and, blah, blah, blah. We find out that's nothing but bullshit. But what happened when that first broke? every single news outlet and late night talk show was talking about what a maniac Trump was, because all this hearing is supposed to do is revive hatred of Trump and try to ensure that his name can't appear on the 2024 ballot. So with all of this going on, just to ensure that that won't happen, there must be an awful lot of fear that he's going to win if he runs again. So, yep, that money could be used to help people. They've spent millions already on these hearings. And what did they find out with their big news flash from Cassidy Hutchinson? Trump yelled and, you take me to the riot or something, whatever term she used, and lunged and grabbed the driver's steering wheel. And now she said she was told this, not that she witnessed it firsthand. And two of the Secret Service who worked for Trump, but who were also veterans of the Secret Service for 20 years, so they worked for other presidents too. They said, that is a line of bull. We were there, and nothing like that ever happened. And then you also got to look at, he was riding in what they have dubbed the Beast. It's like a huge SUV limo, armored. And the driver's way up in the front with a window between them, and Trump is way in the back. Somehow he would have had to, from the back seat of that, climb over everybody else who was in there, go all the way up to the front, reach through the window, and try to grab the steering wheel. They said it just didn't happen. You cannot, it's not possible. And is what the Secret Service were saying. So what would be the motivation of this young woman to lie about it? I don't know. Money. It said she supported Trump at one point, but I also read that she doesn't support him at all. So here's the big question. On the day where that becomes the huge news and everybody's frothing at the mouth about it, what happens next? The Secret Service steps forward, says nothing like that ever happened. We've never seen that temperament in Trump, and it didn't happen that day. And they said, we will testify under oath at the committee hearing. And what's the committee's response? Well, they'll take it into consideration whether they're going to call him or call those two guys to the stand or not. It's not a trial. I keep hearing people say, it's not a trial, I don't care. It's supposed to be a fact-finding, truth-finding committee, correct? So if you have testimony that disputes the testimony that you're hearing, why wouldn't you put them on the stand to counterbalance? It's not a trial, no. It is, in a sense, it's a trial of public opinion right now, and that's what they want to do. This is all an effort to sway public opinion in a hopefully for the left side, a last-ditch attempt to try to avoid getting trounced in the November elections. It's a witch hunt, Field Guy says, and you're absolutely right. Kenny says, I think times would be better spent solving more pressing problems. You'd think. Well, you know what's pressing for them? Staying in power. And, that's a political game anyway.
I tell you what, seeing how dumb they are over everything. Not that I won't go through and figure out what candidate I like better, but I'm almost tempted to just Republican the whole freaking ticket.
Yeah.
I don't want any idiot Democrat taking anybody's spot.
That's what Raini said. For as much as you may have problems with the Republicans on certain things, and we're not Republican, we're conservative, independent. There's a difference between being Republican and conservative, by the way. But Raini just said over there, if you didn't hear everything she said, you know what the Democrats have pushed me into a corner to do right now? Vote all Republican. I don't even care who it is. I'm just going to vote GOP all the way across the board just to get the Democrats out because of this kind of nonsense. wasting of our money.
They're wasting time, they're wasting money, and they could be doing something good, and they're doing crap.
Field Guy says, of course Trump will win. That's why they're running scared and trying to prevent it. Kamala Harris is in New Orleans for the Essence Fest concert, and all the major local networks carried her 2-hour speech last night. And I was so pissed I couldn't watch TV. I think I saw parts of that. And she was talking like this because the teleprompter doesn't go any faster than that. And she has to, because they have to teleprompter because she can't hold her own trying to present things in a public speech. And I don't say that to be demeaning on a picky little. She's not a good public speaker. She's out of her element as vice president. So what has she done? Anybody know? What does she do?
Long, boring speeches.
Yeah, gives long, boring speeches, weird speeches. All I know is gas was like $1.23 with Trump, and with Buck Fiden, it's almost $5 a gallon. Yeah, very true. She was in monotone, says Field Guy. Trump is calling them out on their bullshit. That's why they hate him. Exactly. They'll hate anybody that calls them out. And just for fairness, there's Republicans who need their bullshit called out on them as well. Well, I had a friend on Facebook yesterday say, well, the Republicans all backed out. None of them went and became part of this committee. Well, you know why? Because it's stupid. They didn't want to lend any credence to the committee by anybody on the right who was asked to be part of that or wanted to be. They didn't. They backed out. They said, nope, we're not going to give it any credence at all by being part of it. And that way we're very free to criticize it from the outside. So, yeah, clean house on both sides, says Romeldian. Well, there's one thing that regrettably was never written into the Constitution, and that is term limits for Congress. There's no term limits. There's term limits for the president, but there's no term limits for Congress. And even some of the founders had said at one point, that probably should have been something that was put in there. I think you should have. Who did I hear talking about that? It'd be a great presidential candidate for 2024. If Trump is not running, Florida Governor DeSantis. If you've never heard him speak and the things he said, you know what I don't do? I saw him in a recent speech. He said, I don't look at the polls at all. He says, because I don't care the way things are polling. I was elected to do the right thing for my state. And he says, I don't look to see what everybody thinks about whatever legislation we're going to do. And he says, I was elected because I ran with this philosophy. And he says, this is what we're doing. If Trump doesn't go, I'm going to vote for Ted Nugent. Yeah. If Trump doesn't go, I'm going to probably just vote Republican to make sure the Democrats don't retain any kind of power. As repulsive as a thing as that is to do, sometimes you got to go, who's actually going to win? It's not going to be a third-party candidate. Rarely. The only time third-party candidates are usually spoilers. Write-ins are throwaways. Sorry, Field Guy. Ted Nugent, he's never going to become president of the United States, so I'm never going to vote for him. Although I like some of his political philosophies. There's people I wouldn't vote for because I would think it's my duty to, if I don't like what's in power now, I better do my damnedest to get what's in power now out of power. And voting for Ted Nugent, in my opinion, ain't going to do that. So I'm not voting. It's a waste of time. It's not a waste of time, Romeldian. It's one thing that you have in this world that almost every other country doesn't have. By being a citizen of this country, you have the right to cast your vote. if you don't vote, don't ever boast that we have a government that's of the people, by the people, and for the people. You need to cast your vote. It's not a waste of time. It's a waste of time if it's fixed. That's for sure. Let me recommend, now I haven't watched it myself, but I've heard so many good things about it. You should watch the movie, the documentary 2,000 Mules, Dinesh D'Souza. And it really breaks down what happened in the fixing of the 2020 election. And I guess it's pretty damning. So that's why people have tried to shut it down. But it's done very well. 2,000 Mules. Go watch that. It came out just a couple of months ago. Some people don't vote at all, Romeldian. I recently didn't do it myself. I've done it before, but in recent times, I don't get to hype about it. Yeah. Voting in the United States, if you don't vote, yeah, you can say, well, that's my right to not vote. Well, sure it is, but it's also your rights are maintained because you vote. And I don't think it's worth casting off. Oh, I'm just going to cast off. I'm not going to vote. It's not worth it. Well, it is worth it. Look at what happened in the last election. Biden did legitimately get a bunch of those votes. But why did Trump, who got 13 million more votes in the last election than he did the first election when he won? He got 13 million more in the second election, and Biden still won by a margin of like 8 million votes or something, which right away makes you go, that's not right. But he still won by a margin. Hey, Uncle Dave, good to see you. Uncle Dave is in the room. But I don't think voting's a waste of time at all, Romeldian. You should get yourself informed and vote your conscience, but don't not vote. So, Dinesh D'Souza, yeah, go look up, Matthew, go look up 2,000 Mules. Oh, you did, it looks like already. So, yeah, the cemeteries all voted for Biden. So, Russ has to go pick up his daughter from the hospital. I'll come on next week. Fantastic, Russ. You and I will talk this week. We got other business to talk about anyway, and we'll see if we can figure out a better date for going up and seeing the Star Trek sets. There's going to be no perfect date, but I'd at least like my family to come along, and we'll see if we can line it up so everybody can come. So, and Romeldian says the only person I wanted to vote for was Trump. Yeah, there you go. And I'd vote for him again. If he's running and he's the ticket, that's who I'll vote for. We got to end the nonsense that's in place right now. So, Matthew says, true, as many countries still can't vote. Look at Syria. They wanted a new elective government, but from 2011 until now, they're at war with Syria, and they can't seem to get rid of the unbeatable Assad. Yeah, there you go. It's unbeatable because it's all fixed. Dave, we're going to try to change the Star Trek thing. Rainy and the kids can't go on the 24th. So there's another function. There's a scouting function that they all have to be at. So.
No, just Rowan has to be there.
Oh, just Rowan? Okay.
Lynn's in the troop, so.
Well, I want Rainy to come along, so we may have to shift the dates around. Nobody in Minnesota I trusted to vote for, Meldian said. Meldian, I didn't realize you were in Minnesota. So, yeah. Who do you vote for? I would work to vote out the people that you don't want there right now. Hey, good morning, John Piper. Good to see you. So, it's not my call to say who you should vote for or where you should vote, but I will tell you this, is that don't not vote in the elections. November elections, these are important elections. It's going to determine, do you want the power in Congress kept the way it is now, or do you want the power to be shifted in Congress to a different political ideology? That's the decision you're going to have to make in November. Do you want it to remain the same, or do you want it to change? That's why that's important. And I think a lot of people don't participate in those elections because they don't take time to figure anything out. That's why I talk about that sometimes on this show. Now, you're going to get from a bias on my point of view, obviously. I try to be fair, but it's like these January 6th hearings. I can't give a fair and balanced point of view about that because I think it's a bunch of bullshit. And I think it's there for one purpose. And that one purpose alone. They're spending all these millions of dollars on it, and it's being televised. Not the way they normally do these things. It's being televised in primetime television, so everybody has a chance to watch it. What are they trying to do? There's one goal: prevent a single person from having his name on the presidential ballot in 2024.
And if they're really that worried about stuff, why haven't they looked at Biden yet for his son?
Raini said if they're that worried about stuff like that, why haven't they looked at Biden and Biden's son and all of the crap around that and the corruption there? How many people in America do you know right now were in fear that our democracy was going to fall because of January 6th? Pull this leg and it'll play Jingle Bells. You know what people care about? The price of gas. They care about the economy. They care about a whole hell of a lot of other things than whether or not the left wants to tag Trump as a conspirator of some kind. First of all, it ain't true. The testimony that they were all frothing at the mouth about with the young woman last week about Trump lunging in the thing is not true. You got the Secret Service all willing to testify, but the committee so far doesn't want to call them.
Give all those people a regular American's paycheck for 6 months or even a freaking year and see if that's where they want to waste their time.
Yeah. You're talking about the Congress?
Yeah.
Yeah. Raini said, give Congress, every member of Congress, the average American citizen's salary per year. So it means reduce it dramatically. And give them the same health care that the common American has to have. And the same benefits. And you're going to see what's going to happen to Congress. So people aren't going to serve for very long.
Versus stupid, dumb stuff.
Yes, America will be 246 years old tomorrow. That's right. And tomorrow we're going to have, we'll still have a show tomorrow night. And it'll be 9 o'clock after your festivities are all done. Well, then again, you might be watching fireworks. So it could be a little lean around here. Maybe we could skip tomorrow night. But that's when I read the Declaration of Independence on Friday night in its entirety. That took about 10 minutes-ish or so. And I like to read parts of the Constitution. And you start getting into all the amendments and stuff that gets lengthy. But I think, you know what else I think? I think Americans need a lesson in civics and a lesson in the Constitution. Those should be 2 required courses for all middle school to high school kids in government-run schools. That should be a required course. You should have to take, I went through high school, I didn't have to take civics, and I didn't because I was bored with it. It seemed boring to me. It seemed like math. I put it in the same category as math. John Piper says, join the American Solidarity Party. I don't even know what they're about. I'd have to look into them. So it was scary there for a while, John says. I'm not sure what you were referring to on that. So Matt or Matthew were you saying hi to, Uncle Dave? Is it Matt Finn is here, or is it you're speaking to Matthew in the shortened term of his name? So what do you think? If you have a school that's funded by the government, which is most of our public schools, should civics be a required course? Should a class on the Constitution be a required course? Because there's two things that are lacking right now in all the hullabaloo you're seeing going since the Supreme Court made a couple of different rulings, one on guns, one on abortion, in the last couple of weeks. And everybody's lost their shit. Because you know why? Because they don't understand what anything about civics. They don't understand what the Constitution says. I've had to remind people that are very smart people that you do realize that the government in abolishing Roe v. Wade and turning the abortion issue back to the states has done probably the most constitutional move ever. But it goes against the emotions of what some people want. Why do you think the founders made the amending of the Constitution so incredibly difficult? It can be done, but it's a difficult process. Why? Because they did not want political mindset or emotional mindset to overrun our founding documents. And so I've said to friends, I said, hey, if you want abortion to be constitutionally protected, I said, why don't you push your representatives and your senators, or vote the right people in who will convoke a constitutional convention to propose the amendment, just like the DOMA people did a few years ago, the Defense of Marriage Act, which, aren't you glad that the Defense of Marriage Act was not made an amendment to the Constitution? I am. I'm glad it didn't happen. But you know what? They pushed it and they got that far. But it got shut down. It's got to be voted on. It's got to be all of this with the House and the Senate. And then it's got to go out to the states. And 2/3 of the states have to ratify it. So when you've got, what is that in our country? What's 2/3 of the states? 27. It's about, what? 40 states would need to ratify it? 35 to 40 states, doing the quick math, would have to ratify it to be added to the Constitution. The DOMA Act, I'm glad it never made it in. It was stupid. It was from a particularly skewed religious point of view. Remember the DOMA Act, the Defense of Marriage Act? That was all about wanting the Constitution of the United States to define that marriage is defined as one man and one woman. And that was it. And so I'm glad that was killed. I disagree with it. The Constitution's business. The federal government is not about mandating what is and is not marriage. Just the same as it should not mandate or be constitutional an elective medical act. That goes to the states to regulate. Hey, Uncle Dave.
Hey,
are you coming on visually, or are you just talking?
I'm not camera ready today.
Oh, is your beard not brushed?
Nope. So these people that are bent out of shape and are screaming that how dare these 9 men or 9 people tell us they've been spending 50 years depending on those 9 people to uphold what they believe rather than making it a law.
I said that
Send
just the
it
other
through
day.
the legislature, make it a law. I don't even think it should go back. I'm totally fine with it going back to state by state. But if the feds want it to be federal law, they control the Constitution. They control the Senate. Write a damn law and put it through. Make it legal.
There it is. Make it legal. And if they want it to be constitutional,
make an amendment.
Have to they would have to put it through a constitutional convention.
They keep
And
saying
which-
it's violating their constitutional rights. It's not in the Constitution. You want
Not
it
in
to
the
be there, make an
Constitution.
amendment.
Well, what I've seen, even people very close to me have said, well, it violates my right to privacy. I said, how? I said, you don't talk about it, and it's still private. Your right to privacy is intact.
Where exactly is
right
the
to
right
have
to
the
privacy in the
Constitution-
Constitution?
Your right to have the Constitution and the federal government control medical choices, I said, is what was changed. And
Where
I said, even
exactly
at
is the
that-
right to privacy in the Constitution?
there is a right to privacy. It's construed out of one of the amendments, and I don't even know which, because I keep hearing the argument. It's like the same thing, hearing the argument that the January 6th hearings are not a trial. I said that's a flaccid argument.
Yeah.
The same thing with
Well, they're
all
clearly
the
not a
arguments
trial
that-
because there's no cross-examination, and it's barely a hearing.
No.
But all we're hearing is their side.
all we're hearing is one-sided information.
Yeah, and it's not
And,
even being factual. So
Calling somebody that's disputed the testimony of somebody else and that's willing to testify, and the committee not letting them, that's very telling, right
the
there.
McCarthy hearings were more fair than this, and
I
they
know.
were abominable.
I know. It's a good time to. There's some new movie out on the McCarthy hearings, isn't it? It's called The Big Lie or something like that. I just saw it. Who's in it? John Hamm. I think that's the name, John Hamm, who played in Mad Men.
Yeah.
Advertising series. I don't know
Severely
much
affected
about
my
it. I just saw it.
industry, and I think it was complete BS. But at the
Yep.
same time, now you look at what's happening in our world, and it's like, he may
Yeah.
have been right.
Yeah,
He may not have gone by it the right way, but he may have been right.
right. Beth Kirkham, if you're saying you love the January 6th hearing because they're entertaining, yeah, they're entertaining, that's for sure. Especially if you know anything and you watch that and you go, this is great comedy.
You know what it reminds me of
tragic
is the
comedy,
Salem
which is
witch
a
trials
sad
of the
thing.
1600s.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to see another version of the January 6th hearings? Just go read a book about the Salem witch trials.
Yep. All
You
you
see
have
a
to
lot
do
of
is stand up and point a finger, and everybody's like, "Oh, what he said."
That's why, like I said, everybody in the media and all the late night talk shows were frothing at the mouth about Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony that Trump lunged from the back seat of the limo and tried to grab the steering wheel. Meanwhile, you've got two 20-year veterans of the Secret Service who said, we were there. That never happened.
Yep.
And, they're being paid off by Trump. This is what the messaging is out there. This is what they want.
People that
to
served under
believe.
Obama and Clinton said that's impossible, could not have happened.
That's right. They served under other presidents, and they said, number one, he's in the Beast, which is what they've dubbed the big armored SUV limo.
Okay. First of all, it's only called the Beast by the media. It's not called the Beast by the Secret Service. And second of all, he wasn't in the Beast. He was in an SUV.
Oh, was he in an SUV?
Yep. He was not in the Beast. He was in.
They said he was in the Beast.
Which is wrong. That's what she said in her testimony, that he was in the Beast. He was not in that vehicle. He's on video in the SUV in what they refer to as the Camp David package.
I remember seeing him drive by the protesting that was going on at the Capitol. He drove by and he waved.
Yep.
And out the window, smiled and waved. Dude, that's before any nonsense took place over there. And I didn't remember what vehicle he was in.
So there's a Secret Service guy sitting next to him, and there's one in front of him facing him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then there's the driver. Then there's another officer in the passenger seat in front. So he would have had two guys in back. He would have had to subdue to get the wheel, not to mention the driver and the other guy.
Because the two in the back would have prevented him from making a move like that.
Well, sit in the back of a Suburban and try and reach the steering wheel.
Yep.
An elongated
with two other
Suburban where
people.
you have a jump seat facing you. You're physically 6 feet away from the steering wheel. How's that going to happen?
We can't get our kids to hand the phone up from the back of our SUV.
It's too far.
Too far. So anyway, all I'm saying, I'm not making any big political point about this other than to say that the one-sided, very lopsided, very biased January 6th hearings are not legitimate. They're for one reason alone. It's to prevent somebody from running for office. That's how afraid of him they are.
Yeah.
That's what it really comes down to. That's not just rhetoric. If they're doing all this to prevent one guy from running, they must be an awful lot of fear of that guy.
Well, and he exposed an awful lot of corruption the first time around.
Yep.
And so much so that some of that corruption that it was exposed, they literally didn't even try and hide it. We're just going to do everything we can to get him out of office, even if it's corrupt. And they didn't care that it was blatant and obvious.
Right. All this is really for is to sway, and pardon me for saying this to anybody out there. I don't want anybody to be offended by this, but it's the non-thinking public that they're trying to sway with.
Exactly.
I don't think they even care if they can indict Trump. What they want is the information out there. This is why they wanted a hearing that's usually done during business hours under closed doors, wanted it publicly televised on national television and prime time.
Prime time, yeah.
So everybody could see it. Why do they need that to be done? So they can prove, at least sway the public thinking on somebody that they don't want to have in office.
Hey, Ellie, Belly, how are you?
That, Ellie. There you go. Now we can see you. There's Ellery. Hi. Good morning. They were all sleeping late because they all stayed up late last night.
Okay, I'll turn my camera on for her.
There's Uncle Dave.
Hey.
Oh, you look as camera ready as ever.
Oh, I haven't been in the shower yet today.
I can't tell. Doesn't look any different to me, and the glasses look sophisticated, so you look more sophisticated than I usually see you.
How are you, sweetheart?
John Piper asks, where does Mike Pence stand on all this? I don't even know. I haven't heard him make any comments on it.
Which is, I think, the right decision.
Yeah. You shouldn't have to say anything.
But just not get involved. Stay quiet and stay out of it.
Yep. I even saw Britt Hume, who came out condemning these hearings.
Oh, yeah. And he's usually so middle of the fence on things to well, he really prides himself on not pushing, I'm for this side or I'm for that side. I'm just a reporter reporting the facts.
He even came out and said, I think there's some legitimacy to the child.
Get yourself comfortable, Ellie.
So, no, this is the way it is. Now, she'll be that way. When she gets comfortable, she'll be comfortable for about 30 seconds. Then it starts shifting again. So, just ask Raini. And so, even Britt Hume came out and said that he thinks that there's some, what would you say, something that not charged or not legal charges or anything. He says, but he says, I think there's something to this whole thing about Trump having some involvement in this and him promoting it and pushing it. He says, I don't deny that. He says, just by virtue of the way he spoke to people, but that's also no different than anything else you hear out there. Well, it's like
Maxine Waters or any number of them.
Maxine Waters is exactly what came to mind. What's his name? Chuck Schumer. You will feel the whirlwind, he says to the, And so what's the new call now about the Supreme Court? They all need it. That's the Supreme Court, Ocasio-Cortez, the Supreme Court, and all of this stuff, and downing the Supreme Court. They all want it abolished now. They want members removed. Why? Because they didn't get their ruling their way.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason.
They're all like petulant children.
Oh, there was something I heard the other day, listening to a commentator, and he was saying, there's one thing that has always been a hard, fast, not written rule, but like a golden rule that you abide by. And that is when a president is speaking in another nation. He's overseas. Okay, I'm going to move you because you're moving too much. You can stand next to me, but I can't stay comfortable in my chair because you're constantly squiggling.
I don't like to stand.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then sit still and you can stay with me. It happens when we watch TV too. It's like constant movement. And finally, after 10 minutes,
But when they're overseas, they're not supposed to talk about
if
domestic
they're
stuff.
overseas, you don't talk ill of your own country. You don't talk ill of the United States. And what did Biden do the other day? He was talking
Not the
about
first time either.
It's not the first time. He was apologizing for and talking very badly of our Supreme Court. And you don't do that in other countries. What is that set up for other countries? We're weak and feeble. We don't even have control of our own system. And some of it, yes, some of it is a visual, some of it is perception. But you don't go to another country and degrade your own country. And that just doesn't get done. Especially when you're supposed to be the leader of the free world. You don't go out there and degrade your own country to the rest of the world. Gas was 52 cents when I was 14. Yeah, Trump, says Beth Kirkham. I remember, and I've told this before, Beth, when I was 11 years old, we used to get gas at the little corner Sinclair gas station for 14 cents a gallon. And there were days where they put it on sale. It went down to 11 cents a gallon. That wasn't that way all the time.
When I was in high school and I was paying 55 cents a gallon, thinking how outrageous these prices were getting.
Yeah, 55 cents. Holy cats. Wow. I couldn't imagine this ever hitting $1.
Yeah. And then I was flabbergasted at $1.
Yeah, I know.
Well, people will just stop driving at it. They won't pay $1 a gallon.
Yeah. So, what did Biden say about gas prices the other day? He was asked at that same summit by reporters, what about gas prices and how long do you think the gas prices will be this way? He says, as long as it takes. It's like, well, there you've just won the confidence of America. But
when Obama was running, Obama felt that we should be paying $6 and $7 a gallon.
I know. Why?
Because that will get us off of gasoline. People will stop driving. They'll go to other forms of transportation.
Yeah,
I am totally with them. Get me a horse.
Give me a horse. I'd ride horse. I'd ride a horse and buggy.
Then they'll be bitching about the methane in the air.
With modern technology, imagine the suspension you could put into a horse-drawn carriage.
Oh, yeah.
So, and yeah, so a lot of this is rhetoric we're talking about. So we're preaching to the choir. Bye,
Ellie.
Did you get uncomfortable? She got uncomfortable sitting still for so long.
I've decided to go back to open carry. I want to carry my sword out in the open.
That's right. So do I.
Got my baldric, put it on. Got a small sword for fancy occasions. Got my rapier for everyday use. Got a cutlass for every, special occasions.
In the early 1700s, and you and I have talked about this before, so you know this, but in the early 1700s in Edinburgh, Scotland, that there was a law they actually had to pass that a man could not enter the precincts with more than 17 weapons on his person. We laugh because we go, "Oh, Highlander."
Highlander, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
One of my favorite bits was playing cards with the queen because I had to disarm. And I had to have him bring a second table so I could pile all my weapons on it.
I've seen some comic bits done on that in serious movies where the Highlanders got to shed his weapons for something. And, of course, the Highlanders, they had the big great kilts, and they were all wrapped around. And, you had almost like a poncho out of it. But they'd take off the sword and lay it down. They'd take off. If they carried a sword over their back, they would lay one down. They'd have probably another backup sword here. There's 3. They would have a dagger on the belt. There's 4. They would have a sock knife, a skein and maybe 2 of those. There's 2 more. Then if they had a brace of pistols on their belts, the pistols would come out and be set down. Then they always had other little daggers and little skein-doos and things that were.
Oh, that's a toothpick. Great golly. That's not even a knife.
It's not a weapon. And so 17 was the limit that you could carry on your person into Edinburgh. So
you barely poke someone's eyes out with that. It's hardly called a knife.
It's hardly a knife. That's just my child's knife. So there's a Scottish prince around that time that fought the British. His name was Bonnie Prince Charles, says Matthew Sainsbury. Yes, that's true. That was in 1746. Bonnie Prince Charlie. And they almost won. The only reason Culloden Moor happened was all the Scottish troops were down within, I think, 12 miles it was of London. Meanwhile, the whole force defending London under Cumberland was all the way up in Inverness. And so, but they didn't know that. So they could have moved into London, the Scottish army, and taken control of the government.
And well done, should have.
They calculated that, if Cumberland's men are there, we're not prepared to fight Cumberland and the whole British army. What did they do? They turned around, they marched back to Inverness. Who's up in Inverness waiting for them? Cumberland and the British army. And then, of course, you had the Battle of the Culloden Moor, and which decimated the clan system.
Tragic.
Forever. It ended it forever. And that day. And you had, that's when the Highland clearances came after that, which was just like I equate. Yeah, to Culloden. And that's where I equate a lot of what happened in Native American tribal system happened to the Scottish clan system.
Well,
and
long-standing British policy in all their foreign wars: you take away their culture, you take away their language, you take away their arts, and you destroy the people as a cultural state.
Yep.
And that they did the same with the Pequot.
Yeah.
When they conquered the Pequot, they took all that away, and the survivors were told to be sold into slavery. What the indigenous tribes did is, without the knowledge of the British, they put Pequots near Pequots and arranged marriages to keep that bloodline going. And the tribes that took them in maintained their cultural knowledge of their own, of the Pequot culture and their arts and all that and their language, so that it didn't die out.
Yes. Here, I got to show you guys this since it's being talked about just a little bit. This particular sword that I have, this is a Scottish backsword. And
meaning the back edge is not sharp and the front edge is.
This is not sharp here. Down to about, on this one, down to about here. It's sharp from here down.
Usually the last 6 to 8 inches are sharp. It's on both sides. Yep.
And so this was a back sword. And this is a basket-hilted clay. And this particular sword, I got this from Craig Johnson at Arms and Armor, Dave.
A beautiful piece.
And I bought this 15 years ago, something like that, from him. And he said, while the blade is a replica blade, and by the way, it's very, and Dave can describe to you why this is significant. It's very tip heavy. The balance is in the tip. And that's because this was meant to be not a fine dueling weapon, but a hacking weapon. Anyway, this particular basket on this, Craig Johnson told me the blade is replica, The pommel is replica. That's this piece. And the handle is replica. But the basket itself, Craig said, dates back to about the 1740s. So, and there was a couple of markings on it that he had, and I don't think you can even begin to see what this looks like on camera here. But I don't know if you can see this, but right here, where is it? Here.
Yeah, the
There's
maker's marks.
There's a little crown. The if you can see that on there, see the crown that's etched in there.
Yep.
That
Just
was
barely
for,
visible,
and
but-
there's a little GR under it. It's for Georgius Rex. Well, I don't know if they had George on this one. I might be wrong on this. I might be thinking of my musket. It's got more markings. I think it is a GR underneath that.
Yep. Should be if it's
crown.
1740s.
In the 1740s. And there's also a number that is stamped into this on, and this is a little, it oxidizes just from hanging on the wall from humidity in the air. There's another number on this that also is clearly evident. And it's all in the, you can see, if you can see really close, the pock marking in the metal. And so this particular sword, Craig dated the basket to the 1740s. So this very well could have been once owned by somebody who fought in the Battle of Culloden Moor.
We should buff and beeswax it is what we should do.
We should. It's got one broken part on it. It was this way when I got it too. This little piece right here. You can see it's broken off down here, off of the main basket. And that's the only really negative about it. But yeah, I'd like to buff this out. I don't know what it would have looked like if it was shiny steel.
I wouldn't take it back to a
day.
shine, but just get all the surface corrosion off and then buff it down with beeswax.
A little bit in here. Where is it here? You can see some of the buff in there. And yeah, it's oxidized a bit right now. And I've cleaned this up before, but I haven't wanted to buff it down to a shine.
I gave my basket to Jim Cunningham.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Nice. So
I have the claymore your dad made, or not the claymore, but the
Skandu
Dirk.
or the Dirk. Yeah, my dad made a bunch of all of mine have
stained with Bill Larkin's blood.
So here I'm getting a couple of messages here. Hold on. What have I got in here? Oh, okay. So yeah, so that's one of them. This is probably the most authentic piece that I can't say that. That piece up there, I'm not going to take it down. That one at the top, that piece is authentic, but it's a replica. It's an authentic German rapier that Arms and Armor made by wax castings that they had done off of museum pieces. And
I didn't realize you had that piece, because I do too.
You got the German?
Yeah, it was recently gifted to me. It was Sean's.
Oh.
And after he passed, it hung on Larkin's wall for years. And then recently, he said, "This should be in your hands," and handed it to me. Let's see.
Yep, same exact. That's what I've got hanging right there. No, it's a little different. I take it back. That one's got some different markings on it, but it's the same basic sword.
I have it has a lovely pierced blade in it too.
I don't have the pierced blade on mine. This piece though. Yeah, let me hang this back up. And just by touching them now, I've got to shine them up because buff them out because that will oxidize the steel as well. Is the just putting your finger oil on them.
Oh yeah, it's the worst.
I hate it when somebody would want to look at your sword and you go, okay, now be careful with this. And you think they know what they're doing, and they take your blade,
touch the blade all over the place.
Take their blade, and they go, oh wow, that's really, you know, like don't touch your blade like that. Now I got to polish it.
Stop touching the blade. Stop touching the blade.
Don't touch the blade. Don't touch the blade. So, yeah. So anyway, John Piper says, wouldn't it be a blast to open carry blades? It sure would be.
That I'm totally all for that. It's the whole purpose of owning baldricks.
I'd swagger if I could carry my
big time
strap on my blade. Well, that's what was so cool about doing festival in certain, depending on the level of character you were playing in costume, but you as a pirate, me as a nobleman, you know, you get those costumes on with the big boots and the this and then you strap on a sword belt and you got a sword on one side, a dagger on the other. And it was part of the costume. It was part of the gentleman, the way the gentleman dressed.
The furniture.
Yep. And so that was a lot of fun. Hey, Elderberry, good to see you. So, yeah, oils from the fingers. And so, yeah, but you put that gear on and you'd walk around. You swaggered. Swagger. So, anyway. Thank you, Romeldian. Nice swords, he said. That's what your mom said. Had to put that in. So, cavalry officers in the British Army would use swords similar to hack their enemies during the French and Indian War. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, the French and Indian War, the Scots in the regiments, which is what Dave and I portrayed when we were doing reenacting.
Yep. 42nd
we portrayed Stuart's company, part of the 42nd Royal Highlanders. British redcoats, the kilts, and the whole setup, the whole gearage for that. And I should just show this while we're talking about this. I'll show you guys something here. Here, let me close a couple of things here. Wow, I got 300 messenger windows are open. I'm exaggerating by saying 300. But here, let me show you guys this, and Dave will appreciate this too. I'm going to share my screen with you all. You lucky cats and dogs. Okay, there's my screen. I'm going to go over to my Facebook page. I'm going to go to my photos and my albums. And let's go find the regiment here. This is the regiment that Dave and I were part of. And can you believe it's been almost 20 years since we disbanded the regiment? I think it was 2000.
It seems like just yesterday we had the meeting to organize it.
Here's one. Oh, okay, here you go. I'll show you this. This is the red coat that Raini made for me. I wish I could make that bigger, but I can't. That's our full regalia, as they say, in the regiment. I can't blow that up. Now I could drag it over here and probably blow it up. Let's see. Here we go. It might be too small to really
get smaller. Oh, there you go.
There you go. So, you know, this is the red coats that we wore. This was the second incarnation of the red coats.
So that's the matter red?
We had the scarlet red earlier, which was wrong. They had this matter.
Mine is scarlet. I didn't get a matter red one.
Yeah, this is the madder red, which is made from the madder root. And the piping, which you can't see detail on this, the piping, this stuff here that goes around the button areas and all that. These were all specific to the different regiments. They had different, like this one had, it was this cream-colored piping with
double red.
Do we have a single or a double red stripe going through
double red piping.
Double red piping. And it was different for the different regiments. We're wearing the Black Watch kilt here, which was the McDonald, basically a version of the McDonald. This is the socks, the hose that they wore. And they didn't have elastic in them, of course. And you're talking the 1750s. And so you had the garters that you would tie them on with. And, of course, the single lasted shoes, which meant these shoes, were not shaped to fit right or
Double
left feet.
lasted.
Double lasted. I'm sorry. And they were made in one shape, and your foot had to wear it down.
Yeah, there wasn't a left or a right. You could wear them on either foot, or if you always wore them on the same feet, they would eventually shape to that foot.
Yeah. And so this this was, and then of course the sporran probably didn't have anything that fancy. I had my fancy sporran on here with the silver on it. Probably just had a pouch that would tie. This was your cartridge box where you'd put all your shells that you roll.
And your dirk, or is
This
that
was
your
the sword I just
is that
showed
your
you?
dirk, or is that your bayonet hanging in front?
Yeah, here's my bayonet. And that would all hang on your belt, and I'd have the dirk hanging on my belt on the other side.
Yet another weapon the Scots would carry.
Yeah. And this is the sword I just showed you, and it's hanging on the baldric over the shoulder. This is my musket, my King's Longland 72 caliber
Brown Bess.
firelock musket, the Brown Bess, they called it. And so, and then of course we had the hat, which
with
is
a
the
tuft
bonnet,
of bear fur.
the bear fur, which signified, I used to tell kids when we do these, now you can't see it on this, there's a black bow on this, like most men's hats nowadays have a little bow over the temple. This had a bow over the temple. It was black, or called a cockade. And the black bow signified, I always told the kids, you could tell 3 things right off about who I was just from the bonnet I was wearing. I said, number 1, it's a bonnet. And I said, it's a blue bonnet. I said, who wore those? The Scots. And I said, the next thing is the black bow sitting right here. That was called the Hanoverian cockade. Meant you served the British king at that time, the Hanoverian king. And then the bear skin or bear fur signified you served in North America. So through those 3 things, it was a Scottish serving the English king in North America, is what that hat told you. The blue facings, the royal blue on the collar and the cuff. The 42nd Royal Highlanders used to be buff colored until after the Battle of Fontenoy, I think it was. And during the French and Indian War, they got the commission to change out all their cuffs and their collars to the royal blue, because they became the Royal 42nd Highlanders, conferred by the king. So that's why we wore the blue facings. And so, that's off the top. That's some of the things about that. Now, if I go back here and we look at some of the other pictures here. Let's see. Here's my son, Sam, who is now 21. But this is Sam in a great kilt. And this is what I meant about the great kilt. He's wearing just the vest. And he's got this great kilt, which wraps up all around him. And he's holding my sword there. He's got his own bonnet. I'll show you another one of Sam. They're putting up tents. That's Bill Locken. Here's Sam in the great kilt. There's a couple of these shots I wanted to show you. Here's what the great kilt did. You would lay it on the ground, and you would fold in your pleats in the middle. Then you'd lay down on top of it and wrap it over you from both sides, belt it up. You had all this extra fabric. And you could pull that up and tie it in a knot over your shoulder. You could take the 2 ends that were loose and tie them in a knot in the middle and pull the excess from the middle up through, and you had this hood that would hang like that in the back. So you could pull that hood up over your head. You could also take the stuff on your shoulders and pull it down over your arms. So you had like a coat. And so that's Sam in his very functional working great kilt. And let me just check the chat room here. If anybody had any questions about that. It's not a dress, Elderberry. Ask Dave. We kilt the last man who called it a dress. Yeah. So
That's a great line.
Women wear dresses, men wear kilts. So yeah,
this is properly at the knee or above. We would never wear anything so long as a dress.
That's right. Yeah, there is an official Minnesota tartan. I think they came out with that about 15 years ago. They announced it at the Scottish festival at the
I
Landmark.
think it was in the
Centre.
90s, wasn't it?
We were still doing the Scottish festival at the Landmark when I heard about it. And 3 Celts and Company. We had a booth there at. So that had to be 2006, 2007, somewhere around there.
Okay.
I think when that came out.
It's got blue and green and something else running in.
I'll show you some more regimental photos. Oh, by the way, I got to show you these. This is Uncle Dave and me. That's his pirate, Captain Morgan, and he lent me his coat for Captain Morgan. And these were my boots I wore with my festival stuff and our sword. We did this. We threw a pirate party for Flynn when he was 5 or 6 years old.
Well, so initially we had done a pirate party for
Sam
with
this coat.
And the thing that still makes me laugh about that, so I built that brown coat originally for Sam when Sam was little. Sam invited only the girls from his kindergarten class. So all these girls showed up and no
Yes.
boys. And we were like, aren't there any boys here? And so Sam's like, I didn't invite any. I just invited the girls. Such a little player.
Yep. So there's Sam on the right in this picture. And there's Flynn with Sam's old coat that Uncle Dave made for Sam at his pirate party. And he's got that big hat and the scowl. That's why I love that picture.
Yep.
There he is. There's Raini and Rowan when she was little, and Pirate Flynn. So Ellery was not even in the works back then yet.
No. I
So
did
look at that
another
big
one of
hat.
those little coats for Tilly. When Tilly turned 5, I gave her a red one trimmed in gold. And I was talking to Maggie about it the other day. They've lost track of it. They don't know what happened to that red pirate coat.
Oh, wow.
So it's floating around out there someplace.
Sometimes stuff just disappears. Okay, that's other stuff. That's the party when we had the pirate party. And Jim across the street, Jim Miller, did a pirate treasure hunt for Flynn, like a scavenger hunt. And Sam went with him. They had to go find stuff. It was pretty darn cool. So there we are. There's Flynn the pirate, Sam the pirate, and even Abby and Bryn. I showed the family picture here. The whole family is pirates. There's Bryn and Abby and Rowan as a baby, and Raini. Raini wasn't dressed as a pirate, but the rest of us got to do pirate that day. But that's not what I was going for. There's some more regimental pictures here. Hang on. To show the regiment. I saw one here. Is that the one I was just? No, these are different. This is Bill Locken. He played the captain. For the most part, when you look at reenacting groups like this, they're not the skinny, raily young guys that probably actually were parts of these regiments. They're all old fat guys who have money to buy the equipment.
That is absolutely true.
You go look at any of these reenactments; they're all old fat guys.
and that's the first. Being one of them, that's the first thing I comment on. He'd be dead. He'd be dead, and he'd be dead.
He'd be dead. He'd be dead. He'd be dead. Let's see. Do I have any other? This is just Flynn in his. He had his little period capot there that he's wearing. There it is. And he had his kilt on that day too. And this is just another. This was the scarlet coat, if I'm not mistaken, not the madder red. And that's my friend Leon Stanzalone would do his native Lakota presentation. So at all these events that we did. So that's the full regalia right there. That's how that all looks. And I thought I had a few more pictures of regimental stuff. Let me go all the way to the end here. Yeah, right here.
A group shot? Oh,
Right
there you
here. That's so hard to see that tiny. And it's going to be blurry when I bring it up. See, that's how small that picture is. But there is our regiment here from about
With our
this point
tents.
this way. And then this was another regiment that joined us at one of these events. So, Dave, are you in this picture?
I am not in that one.
You're not in. This was Crossroads Rendezvous. I'm back. This is me here. Eric Nelson, Nawick, who
No,
I don't
it's
even know if
not.
he's alive anymore. What the hell?
I
What the hell happened to
I haven't
Nawick?
heard anything of him since before the COVID, so I don't
Yep.
know.
Here's Larry Frazier. He was our bagpiper. Bill Locken was our captain. Dan Kajowski and Joel Stadler.
Yep.
And Terry
Joel is no
Westling.
longer with us.
And Joel passed away?
Yeah.
I did not hear that.
Oh, sometime back. Yeah.
I did not know that. Here's Greg Mershon, John Knights. And this is one of their guys.
Handsome Johnny.
Handsome Johnny. And no, there's Terry Westling. Who was this? Oh, that's James Keel. So I did not know Joel. Oh, Joel Stadler passed away. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was thinking Joel.
Jameson?
No.
Jameson?
What?
Jameson?
Jameson. Joel Jameson. I meant, total misspeak there. I knew Joel Stadler had passed away. He passed.
Joel
we had
Jameson
the wake
still
for
with
him
us.
at. We had the wake for him at our pub.
Yeah.
In the house. So, what else we got here, folks? That's historical. This was at Fort Ticonderoga. Were you at that one?
No.
I do not see you there either.
No.
Do I have any pictures of you?
Oh,
here, you're in these.
Yeah, I'm in those.
Let's see.
We shot those at the ranch, did we not?
These were shot. These weren't at the ranch. This was at
Big Island?
Kajowski's house, I think. Kajowski's dad's house.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, this, by the way, this is Leon Stands Alone. It's my native friend I told you about. And he stands alone because he's about 6'5". So let's see. These are they were firing the muskets.
God, look how small the twins are.
I know. There's my my daughters, Abby. Where'd that go? Right there.
In the center.
It's Abby and Bryn at one of the events that we did.
Still in pigtails.
Yep. Oh, that's just for fun. Let's see. These other ones are, again, Crossroads Rendezvous. There we are at Crossroads. And these were just goofy shots we did. Where's Dave? There's Dave.
I'm over on them.
Hold on. I gotta blow that one up a little bit.
Is that the goofy shot? Is that
That's
where I'm
the goofy shot?
Don't I have a Dirk to Jameson or something in that?
Maybe not shown. That's Dan Kajowski.
Oh, Kajowski, yeah, in front of me.
There's Joel Jameson. Eric. Ryan, there's Ryan Gale.
Ryan Gale.
This was taken back in, this has to be 2001. 2000. This is 2000.
Yeah, because
this is 22 years
I got
ago.
married in 2001, and that pretty much ended everything.
Yeah, you're not going to do that anymore.
Yeah, I'm like, what do you mean I'm not going to do that? That's part of how you fell in love with me. How could I? Yeah.
Exactly.
Other women might fall in love with
Bryn
me.
and me.
That will end.
There's Bryn photo bombing my picture.
Yep.
Oh, this was after a full day of wrangling students in the school days demonstrations.
At the Bloomington show?
Yep, the Bloomington show. This is where we would do the arms demos and stuff like that. And you can kind of see the privies. Nice shot of the privies. But this is where we were. This is the same sword. Again, you can see it's not as oxidized. Grounded the musket and was showing how we used all the weapons in battle. And so I hope this is not unexciting for anybody sitting over there in the chat room. This is the line. We fired off a shot. Several shots.
The
My
fog of
daughter,
war.
Bill and me doing an arms demo. There's Bill. There's Sam. Sam with one of the toy muskets we made. These were just, Bill cut these all out of wood and stained them. And we used that to drill the student kids, the students that would come through, the school kids. So there I'm showing how to do a charge. That's either at the beginning or the end. This was our camp at Big Island that we set up, or not Big Island, Fort Ticonderoga. That was our flags. That's at Fort Ticonderoga, New York. This was different leggings. I would wear these. Bill would always.
Blues?
I wasn't wearing the.
I have a blue pair of those.
Yeah, I had a navy blue pair of these. I can't remember what they're called off the top of my head. Gators. And I wore these only because when I would get, my feet would get really worn out with those double-lasted shoes. And it made it tough. And I wore those stockings that were like a stirrup socks. And so I'd take off the checked stockings. I put on, these are basically my military boots, modern day military boots. And I would wear the gaiters because I could cover up the lacing and pretend that they were double-lasted shoes.
Yeah.
So Locken always got mad at me for that. You need to put on your stuff. I said, nah, I can't wear my shoes right now. So they're killing my feet. So
well, and they were it's totally proper for us to wear gaiters.
Totally proper. And the navy blue ones were better. These were olive drab. But
I had those, and I had a pair of black canvas ones with buttons up the side.
So there you go, folks. And there's that shows the bayonet. There's the dirk is hanging over here. There's the other sporran I have, the simple pouch, the belly box, which holds your cartridges for your Brown Bess musket. I've got the bayonet on there, so this might be my dirk sticking out here. And then the sword and the baldric. So you could have a brace of pistols on this too. All right, but you had to be rich to have pistols.
And often we carried tomahawks.
Yes. There we go. All right. Oh, yes, we had
small axes.
Because we would, what did the troops do? They were a couple of years in country, and they had those big basket-hilted swords, and they'd be marching through the woods and stuff. They get caught on stuff and swing around. They finally ditched those and started using the native tomahawks that they put in their belts. So,
because they were much like the small axes of Scotland.
Yes. See you, John Piper. You left 10 minutes ago. So, and we're going to get out of here too, because it's 2 minutes to 11.
Just want to comment the Highland troops were some of the first to really connect with the indigenous people, because we had similar clan type styles with chiefs. We used a lot of the same weaponry.
There was an
lived off the land. We weren't these city-bred Londoners that came over. We were people that lived off the land and understood how to do that. And the natives appreciated us, and we appreciated them.
You might appreciate this, Matthew Sainsbury, because we were talking about it with you. At the time of Bonnie Prince Charlie and the defeat of the Highlanders at Culloden Moor, that ended forever the clan system of government. Then the Highland clearances took place. It became illegal to speak Gaelic, Scots Gaelic. It became illegal to wear the kilt. It became illegal for a lot of different things. And then the King of England said, what a waste of manpower. By the clearances, by the way, when they cleared the Highlands, I said that was a lot like driving the Native Americans off of their land. So the same kind of thing took place. So that's why there was such an affinity. But the king said, let's not waste all this manpower. Why don't we let them form their regiments within the British Army? Only this was a stroke of genius on the part of the military leaders of Britain. They said, let the clan leaders lead their own regiments. They've got the money. Let them do it. They can retain their position as the laird of the clan, only in a military unit. And this is how we can use these men to benefit the empire.
Well, because we were leaving in droves for America as well, which is why there are so many Scotsmen in America and Irish that there was like, screw you, Britain. We'll just go to America where we can live the way we want.
Yep. And so the Scottish regiments in the army, if you go look up all the Scottish regiments right now, you'll see how many different regiments there were.
The Gordons, the Frasers,
the McDonalds, the Sutherlands, all of them. And so you can go look at those, and they're all numbered as well, the 95th, the 205th, the 42nd, the whatever. And also, the clan system didn't really ever reignite as a ruling system in Scotland, although it exists now. There are clan chieftains all over the place in Scotland for the different clans, but it became romanticized in the Victorian era.
Period, yeah.
Now,
where they got everything wrong.
Look at what happened to the Native Americans. They all got pushed off their land. They all got pushed onto reservations. But within 50 years, it was the noble savages. It was the noble chiefs and all of this. And the same thing happened in Scotland. It was the noble Highlander. And so it became very fashionable to wear a kilt. And for women to wear the female versions of the long kilts and the what do they call those? The over the shoulder piece. It's like a scarf, but it's called it was like I want to say a sage. It has a sound like that. There was some kind of piece that they would pin here.
Yeah, and I can't think of it either. I thought it started with a
throw it over the shoulder and wear it. I can't remember what that's called. But big like
but it represents the tartan.
Right, it's the tartan. So anyway, there you go. I hear when Washington came here in Barbados, he met a lot of Scots in the British Army as well. Yeah. When he was 19, he explored Barbados, British military forts. It's not a sash, Susie Q. It's called something else. There's a term for the what the women would pin to their shoulder and wear flung over their back.
And the men wear them too with the small kilt.
Yes.
I cannot think of it. I want to say it's. I cannot think of it. I want to say it starts with a B and it's got sort of a braggy sound to it, but
Erisad, a tartan erisad, EARASAID. It's like ear a said erisad, or a tonog, which is the smaller shawl. So the erisad, because we had a lot of women in clan tartan and even some of the women associated with the regiment who wore the erisad over the shoulder. I knew I said Assange something, and it's not Assange. That's a guy. So erisad. So there you go. All right, guys, we're going to get out of here.
All right.
Dave, thanks for joining me. This was great stuff. We should have, Ryan said we should talk about the 42nd Regiment. He's putting a big section in his new book about the 42nd. We should, the three of us should come on one night in the next week or so and talk about the 42nd.
Well, Sean and I and Eric are the ones that sat down and organized it. Four, if you count, Keel came in, was brought in too. Yep. And so the four of us are the ones that said we should do the 42nd. Here are the ground rules. This is what we wanted and everything. So,
yeah. And I was there at the beginnings of the 42nd. And then some of the original guys just dropped out. So didn't have
the
time
marriage
for it
is what did it for me. It pulled me away from all that. And
what did? I'm sorry.
Getting married. Amy
Oh,
didn't
yeah,
want me involved in all that stuff. She even picked the weekend of Big Island. The annual weekend of Big Island is the weekend we got married, which meant I could never be away. I mean, it's our honeymoon or it's our anniversary. I'm going to Big Island.
Yeah.
That was never gonna fly.
That wasn't gonna fly.
So
I got to be in Dave's wedding. We wore kilts and Prince Charlie's bow ties, the Prince Charlie coats. So, yeah.
Married at the Plummer House. They had a really nice Tudor mansion for the backdrop. It was
very cool. All right, guys, let's get out of here. I will most probably be here tomorrow night, but we'll see what we're doing. Might be watching fireworks. I'll put out an announcement if we're not going to do a show tomorrow night. All right, everybody. So you know what? Live long and prosper. And we will see you. Thanks for being here today.
Be well, everyone. Do something good for somebody today.
There it is. Happy 4th of July coming up if we don't see you before then.
I'm out.